Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Cooper, and I'm so excited that today's a Saturday. I've been excited to film this episode all week, and I am so ready to get into it. Today we're going to be talking about something that I'm honestly not very good at, but I feel like I've been learning a lot, especially over the past few weeks and months about this topic, and I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys in hopes that maybe you guys can relate or learn from it or whatever. Before we get into it, I got a new haircut. Again, I got my hair cut shorter a while ago, but I just fell in love with it. I was like, I love this short hair, and so I wanted to cut it shorter. So today, it's very short, and I absolutely love it. Shout out to my hairdresser. She's fantastic, and she did amazing. And I love how it looks curled, so yeah. I just love everything about it, but let's get into it. Today, I am going to be talking to you guys about patience, and this is honestly something that I do not have a lot of. I am not known for being the most patient person in the world, especially if you're my siblings. I'm probably not the most patient, but I feel like I'm learning a lot more about it. I feel like in our, day and age, we're just so accustomed to going so fast all the time. We're, on social media, like, the more the better. The more someone can do in one day, the better. But I honestly think that sometimes being patient and just slowing down a little bit allows us to actually be in the moment and allows us to experience things a little bit deeper. And I feel like I've been working on that for a while, of just like, I don't have to always be go, go, go. I'm very type A personality. I like to have things planned out. I like to, do everything according to a schedule. But sometimes I find that I do too much. I'm just doing too much in one day, and I need to slow down. And I need to be patient instead of trying to rush through things, because when we rush through things, that doesn't get us anywhere. It doesn't make anything better. So yeah, I feel like one of the biggest lessons for me recently was getting my wisdom teeth out. That was, if you listened to my last episode, that was a pretty painful experience for me. I ended up getting dry socket, but I feel like I've learned so much about patience through that, because yes, dry socket did, lengthen the time of my recovery by about a week to a week and a half, which is not ideal. It wasn't something that I would have chosen for myself, no one would have chosen that for themselves. But, it was frustrating for me because, I listened to all the rules of how to take care of your surgery site when you get your wisdom teeth out. I listened to all of those things and I still got that, and it was frustrating, but I feel like it was meant to happen to me so that I could learn about being patient and about how it takes time to create something good. It takes time to heal. It takes time to grow. And, with that, obviously, being in recovery from my wisdom teeth, I wasn't able to run and work out the way that I normally do. I love to run. I love working out. I love being active. I'm not the type of person that just sits and does nothing all day. I like to be out and about doing things all the time. And, this time of recovery forced me to calm down. It forced me to take a second, just stop, take a second and rest, and truly, truly rest. And I recently got back to running and working out a little bit, but with that, of course, getting back to working out after taking a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks off, it feels different and it feels harder, and you feel like you've lost all progress. And I feel like that's something that's been so hard for me because it's not often where I take that time off. And so when I came back this time, I just felt horrible. I felt like I had lost all of my ability to run, all of my ability to lift weights, all of these things, but really it just takes time to build back up. And I'm still building back up, I'm still building my speed up when I run. I'm still, getting back into doing hard exercises and things like that. But ultimately, it takes time to get there. it's not just at the snap of a finger that all of that comes back to me, and that's okay. And I'm learning that. I'm learning that every single day, that it's okay for it to take time. It's okay to come back after taking 2 weeks off and to not be where you were before. It's okay. You'll be back there in a few weeks. Yeah, that's just been a super important lesson for me. And I think it's honestly made me realize how much I truly love running, because the reason I started running and the reason I started to enjoy running so much was because I enjoyed doing something hard. I enjoyed putting my time and effort into something. And, after running for 5 years, you get used to that pain. You get used to that. And it's not that it becomes easy, because I don't think running ever becomes easy, but I got used to it. And so over those few weeks that I was out, I got used to not running. And so coming back to it, it's harder and I have to push myself, but it makes me love running even more, because that's why I fell in love with running in the first place, because it's hard and I'm learning. And coming back from my mission trip and my wisdom teeth, I'm learning again why I love running so much. And I think that was just such an important lesson for me. And I'm just learning to be patient as I build back up to the fitness I was at before, as I build back up to the energy I had before. All of those things, it takes time and it takes patience. That's what we're talking about today. This whole instant gratification thing that we have in the world today and that we think we need, that does not satisfy us. The things in this world that truly satisfy us take time. Relationships that are meaningful take time. Whether that's romantic or a friendship, it takes time to build that up. You don't meet someone and you're automatically just best friends and you know everything about each other. Maybe you click with someone, but it takes time to build that trust, to build that connection. That's the patience that we need, and that's the patience that's required for everything meaningful in life. Things don't just drop into your hands. Sometimes you have to wait and be patient for things to play out. If you're waiting for a romantic partner, maybe you just have to be patient so that God can work in your life. The more that we try to rush God's plan, the less of God's plan it actually is. You can't rush what God has for you, because then ultimately if you rush it, that just ends up being your own plan. That's not God's plan anymore. So we just have to be patient and know that God has us, and the Bible says that God has plans to prosper us and not to harm us, plans to give us a hope and a future. And if we believe that, we need to allow that in our lives. We need to give God time for him to work in our lives. And I'm saying that to you, but I need that same advice for myself as well. So, this podcast, this community that we're building here, I benefit from it just as much as you guys. And I need these words just as much as you guys, because I am the queen of trying to rush God's timing and trying to do everything at once and not being patient. But I'm learning every day, and we're learning. We're all learning together, and we can all get better. Yeah, so just allow God to work. Allow him to do things in your life, because he can do so much with you and with your life if we just let him. But if we're always trying to take control, then that's not giving him room to do things in our lives. We just have to be patient. It takes time. And, I am about to go into senior year of high school, and I was working on my senior parking spot. If your school doesn't do this, it's basically you can just buy a parking spot that is only yours, and then you can paint it, a design, whatever you want, really. And so I was painting mine this week, and it took me way longer than I thought it was going to take. And I severely underestimated how much time it would take me to paint this parking spot. But I worked really hard on it, and I ended up finishing this parking spot, and I just was so proud of myself for how good it looked. And I was proud of myself for how much time and effort I put into it. And that really just showed me it takes time to create beautiful things. If I were to just try to get all of that done in one day, in one session, like, it probably wouldn't look good. If I tried to cram it into 1 hour of work rather than 6 hours of work, it wouldn't look as good because beautiful things take time. It takes time to create art, but I think those things are what allow us to appreciate it that much more. If I painted that parking spot in 1 hour, maybe I would be proud of my work, but it wouldn't mean nearly as much to me as something that took me multiple days to complete and hours of hard work in the sun to complete, right? That's why it's meaningful. The things that mean the most to us in our lives, they're meaningful because they take time and they take energy. The relationships and friendships that mean the most to us, they're that meaningful because we have to put effort into it. And we have to be patient as that connection grows. We have to be patient as we learn somebody new, something new, right? The instant gratification of the world and the things that come to you so quickly, they will not satisfy you. A relationship with Jesus is the same way. It doesn't just happen in one instant. A relationship with Jesus that's meaningful is every day picking up your cross and spending time with him, putting in effort to have a relationship with Jesus. That's why it's meaningful. Nothing meaningful comes from one moment. It comes from continuous days, weeks, months, years of putting in effort and time and being patient as the beauty grows. Beautiful things take time, and healing takes time. It takes time to change, and we have to be patient with that. One thing that I saw in the Dominican Republic when I went on my mission trip that I feel like truly just changed my perspective and just showed me like I really need to slow down and I need to, just be patient was, in the Dominican every single day they have a siesta. And I honestly think that a lot of other parts of the world also have siestas, but it's basically just a time of rest in the middle of the day. And in the United States, we don't have this because in the United States, we're so used to go, 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 go. We never stop working. We never stop doing things in the United States. But in other places across the world, they have designated time to rest and to take naps and just chill. And I think in those times, I was able to truly rest my body and not be so rushed. And I feel like that just changed my perspective because it's okay to take a moment to breathe. It's okay to take a moment to have space for yourself. Be patient. It doesn't always have to be a rush to get as many things as possible done. We need to be patient. We need to slow down. So that we can see the ways that God is working. I also wanted to touch on being patient with others because this is the main way that I lack in the patience department, especially with siblings. If you have siblings, it's hard to be patient with them because, when you live someone, it's much harder to tolerate them. It's harder to keep a good attitude. And I find myself sometimes getting annoyed easily, and I'm not patient at all. And that's not fair for the people around us. And honestly, it's a disservice to ourselves because getting angry and getting annoyed doesn't add anything to our lives. So, if we could all just be more patient with each other, how much better would our world be if we could give each other a little bit of grace and patience? When I'm waiting for my food at a restaurant, I'm not patient. I'm getting hangry. That's my automatic response. But maybe sometimes I need to work on just relaxing and understanding that maybe the waitress is having a hard day. Maybe the chef is really just wanting to make a perfect meal for you. And that's why they're taking a long time, because they want it to be perfect. Like, we never know what's going on behind the scenes, and we're so quick to snap at people. We're so quick to be judgmental. We're so quick to be rude. But if we had a little bit more patience, the world would be so much better. Patience is one of the fruits of the Spirit. If we're wanting to be more like Christ, if we're wanting our lives to reflect Him, then patience comes with that. It's not an option. And I think sometimes in my own life, I treat it like an option. I'll be patient when I feel like it. But really, I need to be patient all the time because Jesus was patient Jesus was patient with his friends who betrayed him. He was patient with sinners. He surrounded himself with sinners, and he didn't snap at people like that. And, if we want our lives to be more like his, then patience comes with that. And I also think that it's important to have patience for yourself. This is another way that I lack a lot in the patience department, because even sometimes when I'm doing well with having patience for others, I'm having a good day, I'm feeling kind and jolly, and I'm treating others with kindness and grace and patience. I don't have that same thing for myself because, like I said, I want to do it all. Extreme type A personality. I want to get it all done. I want to do everything perfectly. I want to make no mistakes. And I get frustrated with myself if I don't execute perfectly, if I don't do every single thing exactly as I planned it. And if you watched my perfectionism episode, you would know a lot about that. But, I deal a lot with perfectionism, and I don't give myself that patience, but we all need to give ourselves a little bit more grace and patience because we're not perfect and we were never meant to be perfect. The only person who ever walked this earth that was perfect was Jesus himself, and we can't expect that from ourselves. Of course, we can live our lives every day trying to be more like him, but we're never going to achieve it. That's the reality, and we have to give ourselves more grace when we fall short, because we all fall short. We all do. And I think, honestly, for me, I would be so much happier if I could just be kinder to myself. And that comes with being patient when I have bad days, being patient when I make mistakes, being patient when the outcome is not how I wanted it to be. All of those things require patience, and it's something that I really, really want to get better at. I want to continue working on my patience because, other people deserve patience, and I want to give that to them, but I also do. You deserve that same love that you give to other people. You do. And in the Bible, it says, love your neighbor as yourself. And I've said this in one of my other episodes, but that means that you need to love yourself. If you're giving all of your love to other people and you're not giving any to yourself, then it's pointless. You need to love yourself and give yourself that patience, and then you can do the same thing for other people. And if we are, like I said, if we are meant to love others and we're meant to love ourselves, then that brings to mind another verse in the Bible. I believe it's 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8, but it says love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast. Like all of these things. And the first one is love is patient. Patience comes with loving someone. If you have a sibling who's being extremely annoying, you need to have patience with them because you love them. If your spouse did something that you didn't like, you need to have patience because you love them. And the same thing goes for yourself. If you love yourself, which you should, and if you don't, work on that. But if you love yourself, then patience needs to come with that because love is patient and love is kind. Be kind to yourself, be patient, and allow yourself to make mistakes. It's okay. Yes, try your best at all times to do the right thing, but when you fall short, don't be so hard on yourself. Be patient. Be patient while God works in your heart. Be patient while you're growing. Be patient through it all because you deserve that patience just as much as anyone else. And, I think a lot of times we get this imposter syndrome where it's like we think everyone else deserves everything but us, and we think everyone deserves kindness and love, but when it comes to ourselves, we don't know how to give that to ourselves. We don't think we deserve it. And I'll just tell you that is a lie. You deserve every bit of love, and you deserve it just as much as anyone else. And I know it's hard to think about, because we don't feel like we're deserving of it, but we are. Every single person in the entire world is made in God's image, and we're all deserving of love and peace and joy and all of the fruits of the Spirit. We're all deserving of that because Jesus died for us so that we could have a life So we need to live our life with all of those fruits of the Spirit. We need to be living it out every day. And in order to give all of those things to other people, we have to give it to ourselves. We can't love the people around us without loving ourselves. We can't spread joy, true joy to the people around us if we don't have joy for ourselves. You are so important, and I'm so important, and we're all so important. And we just need to have patience for ourselves. We need to have patience when we're going through hard times. We need to have patience for our friends, our family, our pets. Sometimes our pets pee everywhere, and it's really annoying, and you have to clean it up, and it smells really bad. But they aren't perfect, and we can have patience for them too. So, yeah, honestly, that's all I really have to say on patience. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know I did. This is something that I will be working on for the rest of my life. It is something that I'm not great at. I don't have a lot of patience, but every day I want to have more patience with everyone around me and also with myself. And I hope you guys can relate in some way. I hope that you guys can work on yourselves and work on being better to the people around you and to yourself. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please follow if you aren't already. I had an absolutely fantastic time. If you know someone who would benefit from this episode, please share it with them. I would love for them to hear it. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. That's the scoop.